Hi all, welcome back. Today we are going to discuss about one of the most common tasks during a data analysis, and that is how to efficiently subset a Pandas data frame. In Pandas, this means selecting particular rows or columns from a data frame. And we will also learn how to extract a subset of a Pandas data frame, and this is very useful because we often want to perform operation on subset of our data. There are many different ways of subsetting a pandas data frame. One may need to select a specific column with all rows. Sometimes we want to select specific rows with all columns, or select rows and columns that meet a specific criteria. So today's agenda is that we will learn about selection, slicing, and indexing. So what the selection means is selecting a particular column or multiple columns from a pandas data frame. Slicing means row selection, means selecting certain number of the rows in a pandas data frame, and indexing is basically the combination of both slicing and selection. In this session we are going to use Tableau Superstore dataset, which we have used in previous sessions also. Let's import our necessary libraries. We are going to import pandas, numpy, and warnings, and then we are going to use read_csv method to read Superstore dataset. Let's see how our data looks like. It has 9,994 records and 20 columns. I'm going to clean my columns. Let me show you why I'm doing that. You can see here columns have spaces. For example, order date is going to have a space, ship date has a space. So I'm going to replace spaces with underscores, and if there is any dash, I'm going to replace dash with underscore, and want my column as lower cases. So that is what I'm doing with this particular code. And if you are following this particular series, we have gone through these small codes in the previous session. So you can watch, inspect how to inspect a pandas data frame, and we have taken through that what are the common codes which we use to inspect a particular data frame. And this is how our data looks like now. Our order underscore ID has been changed to lowercase, and spaces and space has been changed to underscore. Similarly, dash has been converted to underscore. Now pandas provide many indexes to select subset of the data. The most common of them are square bracket notation, loc, and iloc. Basically, an indexer is a term for one of these, you can say these common indexer, and it is used to make the subset selection. The first method which we are going to discuss how to subset a pandas data frame is selection. When we grab a particular column or multiple columns, or let's say all the columns from a pandas data frame, it refers to as selection. The selected columns contains all the rows. Now let's see how we can select a single column from a pandas data frame. df_single, and for this one we are going to use a square bracket notation. And let's say we want to select segment. Let me not create a data frame. Let me show you like this. So our data set, which is df, we had used a square bracket, and then we pass the single column, which is segment here, and we have got an output for that particular column. Now we are going to see how we can select multiple columns using a square bracket notation. We can select multiple columns of a pandas data frame using its column name when we define those column names inside a list of square bracket. What does it mean is, so we have called a dataset df, then use a square bracket, and now we are going to pass a list of different column names. So let's say we want to see segment, country, city, and state. So I'm going to pass a list of different column names: segment, city, state, and let me call the head method to to show you the first 5 records. Now you can see here, by passing a list of different column names in Pandas DataFrame with the square bracket notation, we have got only selected columns as an output. Now there is one key difference when we are using, means any method we are going to use. If we are going to call a single column, it is going to be a series, df underscore single, and let's say df underscore multiple, and df underscore multiple, which is a new data set which you are going to create. It is going to be a Pandas data frame. Let me show you. This is a very common interview question, specifically for the beginners. So you can see here, when we select a particular column, a single column, it is going to be a series. Whereas if we are going to select multiple columns, it is going to be a Pandas data frame. We have discussed all these things in the previous sessions, that series and data frame are the two main data structures in Pandas, and series is similar to a single column of a data, while a data frame is similar to a sheet with rows and multiple columns. And if you want to have more information about this, then please watch the previous sessions. So the primary purpose of using a square bracket in Pandas data frame is to select either one or multiple columns from a Pandas data frame. When we provide a single column, it returns a series, while providing it to a list of columns, it returns a Pandas data frame. Before we proceed further, let's understand loc method and iloc method and why they are preferred over the square bracket notation. The loc indexer selects data in a different manner than just the brackets. It has its own separate set of rules that we are going to see now. The loc indexer can select rows and columns simultaneously. This is done by separating the row and column selections with a comma. More importantly, loc primarily selects subset by the label of the rows and columns. Regarding iloc indexer, it is very similar to the loc indexer, but in place of labels, it uses integer location to make it subset selection. In fact, the word iloc itself stands for integer location and can help remind you what it does. Now let's do some examples to see how we can use loc and iloc method to select a particular column or multiple columns from a Pandas data frame. Now let's do an example that how we can read a single column using a loc method. The loc indexer basically selects both rows and columns simultaneously. This is done by separating the row and column selection with a comma. The selection syntax will look something like this. We are going to call our data frame, then period, and then call the loc method, and then there is a square bracket notation, and then we are going to pass the rows and columns. Let's see how we can call a single column using the loc method. Let's say we want to retrieve segment from loc method. What we are going to do? We are going to use our data frame df, then call the loc method, and then there is going to be a square bracket notation. And then for calling all the rows, I am using colon. Then it should be separated by a comma, and then I am going to pass my variable name, which is segment. And you can see the output here. 0 consumer, 1 is consumer, the last one is consumer, and you can see the result in a df dataset. Here I am showing you top 5 records: consumer, corporate, consumer. So let me pass here head method, and you can see here these are the top 5 records which we have retrieved by using the loc method. Now let's say we want to select multiple columns. Just like what we have done in the square bracket notation, we want to select segment, country and state using the loc method. What we are going to do here? We are going to call a data frame and then call the loc method colon to retrieve all rows, and here I am passing a state, then country, let's say segment and city, segment and city. Let me show you the top 5 record. See, here we are not talking about the slicing. That is why I'm using the head method. Otherwise, I would have shown you in the loc method how we can get the top 5 records without using head method. So you can see here, we have retrieved multiple columns and they are in the same order which we have passed here in the list, and you are seeing the top 5 records using the loc method. The similar thing can be done by using the iloc method. But the main difference between loc and iloc is that loc method is using the labels, whereas the iloc method is going to use the variable's position, and which is going to be the integer location to make it subset selection. Let's see how we can use the iloc method to retrieve a single column as well as the multiple columns. The same thing what we have done here by using the loc method, now we are going to use the iloc method. So let's see at what position our segment, country and city state columns are. What we can do here, I am writing a simple code to see at what index position these columns are. So you can see here 0 is the index position and then there is a column name order ID. So segment is at 6th index position, country is at 7th index position, city is at 8th index position and state is at 9 index position. So if I want to use iloc method, let me show you if I am going to pass this particular code. It is going to give me an error. I just wanted to show you what is the main difference between loc and iloc. So when I'm saying label means passing as it is, like what is the column names are. But if you want to use the iloc method, then you have to pass their index position. So you can see here index error. iloc requires numeric indexes, got, state, segment and city. So what we need to do here, I am going to pass their index position, and for segment it is 6. State is 9, segment is 6 and city is 8. And let me use the head method to show you the top 5 records. Sorry, I did not pass a column. So you need to separate your rows and columns by a comma. So here you can see here, colon is for all rows, then pass a comma and then pass your variable's integer position. And you see here, you get the same output what you have got with the loc method. So we have seen square bracket notation, loc and iloc method, that how we can retrieve a single column or multiple columns by using these methods. Now let's say if you want to select certain number of the rows in Pandas DataFrame, that is known as slicing. And we are going to use again just the brackets, locs and ilocs, and we are going to do examples by using these methods to slice our data frame. Let's do an example. We are going to use the square bracket notation to slice our data set. So our data set is df. What we want to do is, let's say we want to select the first 5 records. What we are going to do is, we are going to use 0, which is the first position, and then I am going to call 5 here, and let's see what it is going to give us. So you can see here, it has given us the first 5 records by using the square bracket notation. And we have passed here the index position 0 to 5. And since in Pandas data frame, we go from 0 to n minus 1, and you are seeing here the index position of 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, let's say you want to see record number 10, 20, and 30. What we are going to do? We are going to pass the specific number of record, not a specific number of the record, but records at a specific position. So we want the index position 10, 20, and 30. So it is giving us an error. And why it is giving us an error? Because if you remember, when we have to retrieve multiple columns in a Pandas data frame using square bracket notation, we pass a list of column names. So when we are using square bracket notation, so here Pandas get confused and it has taken it as a column name. And since 10, 20, and 30, there is no column name, it has given us an error. I'm not going to get into more detail because I have never used square bracket notation for slicing in Pandas data frame. It is not a good way to do slicing, and it is very confusing also. And that is why I'm not getting into the detail. I just wanted to show you how you can slice certain number of the records using square bracket notation. Let's go to loc method. What I'm going to do here, if you have remember the syntax, we use df.loc and then we pass rows and columns. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do here, let's say we want the top 5 records. So if I'm not passing anything, it means Python means it is starting from 0 position. So it needs top 5 records, and then we are going to pass let's say these many records only, and ideally this should be the code. Okay, so you can see here 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, these many records have come up. These are the top 5 records and all the columns. Ideally this should be the code when we are using the loc method, but Pandas is smart enough. If we will pass this one, if we pass this code, it will understand that we are calling top 5 records and all the columns, and it has given us the same result. However, iloc is going to behave a bit differently from loc method, and the reason is, as I had mentioned, loc uses labels. So it does not, so when we are passing 0 to 4, it literally means these are the label positions of the rows, and it will give the output of those rows what we have passed here. However, in case of an iloc, it takes them as an index position. So it uses a conventional way of indexing Pandas data frame when we are doing the slicing. What does it mean is, if you have done an indexing in list, you use index position from 0 to n minus 1. So if we need to get the top 5 record using the iloc method, what we can do here, we are going to pass 0 to 5, and it will give us an output till index position 4. So this is how we can use the iloc method, and it uses a conventional way of indexing in Python, which goes from 0 to n minus 1, and that is why 5 is not inclusive. It will give you record number 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, because these are the index position of these rows. Now, we had seen that we have got an error when we want to pass a custom, you can say, row number. But that is not going to be a problem for us when we are going to pass loc or iloc method for these custom position. What we are going to do here, we are going to pass these custom position. 10, 20 and 30. And you get an output of these labels. Similarly, if we want to use the iloc method, we are going to pass these positions or index positions, and you can see here we have got the same output by using loc as well as by the iloc method. And that is why we prefer loc and iloc over the square bracket notation, because it gets confused that whether it is a row or it is a column. If you want to use square bracket notation, then use it only for slicing, means not for the custom rows. Use it only for the slicing from, let's say, starting from 0 to 5, 0 to 10 or 10 from 100. Let me show you. So let's say I want to see records from 10 to 15. So it has given me 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14 because 15 is not inclusive. Similarly, if we want to get the same record, we can pass 10 to 15 and here 15 is including. Similarly, for iloc, 15 is going to be not inclusive. Just for the clarification purpose, I'm showing you these examples. And by the way, again, if you are a fresher and if you're going for an interview, this can be a question for you. I have seen if somebody is giving I've seen these several questions where people get confused that how many number of the records are going to be there if we are using these sort of the examples for loc and iloc method. So just be careful. Till now, we have discussed about how we can select and slice a pandas data frame by using square bracket notation, loc and iloc. Now we are going to discuss about the indexing in pandas data frame, which is a combination of both selection and slicing. Now let's do some examples. By using square bracket notation, loc and iloc, we are going to work on the same data frame df. Now I'm going to use the square bracket notation and I want to see the records from row number 20 till 30. And you can see here, this is basically the slicing. Now what we want is, we want certain number of columns. For example, customer ID, customer name and state. I have opened another square brackets and then I'm going to pass the list of the column names. So for example, here I'm passing customer underscore ID, customer underscore name and state. And you can see here we have got records from row number 20 till 30th for customer underscore ID, customer underscore name and state. How we can get the same record? By using loc method. It is very simple. We have called a data frame df, then called the loc here. Then I have used square brackets here. Then I'm going to pass 20th till 30. And then I'm going to call my columns which we want to see here in the output and state. So you can see we have retrieved the records from the data frame df from row number 20th till 30. If we have to do the same thing by using the iloc method, we have to pass the index position for our column names. So let me run a for loop to get to know their index position. Columns dot to list. Let me print it. The INJ. So you can see here, customer ID is at index position 4, customer name it is at 5 and state is at 9. What we are going to do now, we are going to call a data frame df, then call the iloc method, and since we are using iloc method, the last row number we have to increase by 1 because that is not inclusive, and then we will pass a list for column names for their index position 4, 5 and 9. And you can see here we have retrieved the records for row number from row number 20th to 30th, as well as we have got the desired column names customer underscore ID, customer underscore name and state. Now there are various other methods to subset a pandas data frame by using at and a dot i8 method. Then there is another method called get underscore loc. But since it is a beginner series, I do not want to make you confused, because most of the time you are going to use loc or iloc method to subset a pandas data frame. And I'll suggest you, if you can practice more and more, it will be helpful for you. So that is it for today's session. I hope you guys have learned something new today. And in the next session, we are going to touch base on another important topic, and that is to filter a pandas data frame. So till then guys, take care. Have a good day.